Right, sorry, now from the Institute for the Study of War, let's bring in Chris Harmer. Chris, Iran says the nuke program is for peaceful purposes, so why the execution and why all the secrecy?
Well, something to keep in mind here, Iran executes nuclear scientists all the time. They have a massive nuclear research and development program. They've got a very effective cadre of scientists. But, of course, we have penetrated that. Some other of our friends have penetrated that. And so the Iranians are very concerned about security inside their nuclear program. As a result, they are constantly executing people that they believe are traitors, whether they are or not. This is part of the way that the Iranian regime controls the Iranian people. It's also key to keep in mind here, even though we see some superficial compliance by the Iranian regime in terms of not enriching uranium further, in every other aspect of the nuclear deal, they're in violation. They continue to research and develop intercontinental ballistic missiles. They continue to finance state sponsors of terror like Syria and Iran, or Syria and Sudan. They continue to sponsor foreign terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas.
Chris, let me get to this one. President Obama, of course, wants us to believe that we didn't pay $400 million in ransom money to Iran, but there are pictures emerging of an Iranian propaganda video now that aired about a month after that money was delivered, allegedly bragging about the swap and showing the arrival of that crate of cash. What are your thoughts there?
Assume for the sake of argument this wasn't a ransom, although it certainly looks like a ransom. The propaganda value here for the Iranian regime is immense. Beyond that, the street value of cash in the terrorism world is far higher than the value of electronically denominated currencies. When you and I engage in legitimate commercial transactions, paying a mortgage, paying insurance, picking up an Uber on the street corner, we use electronically denominated transactions to conduct that type of business. Drug dealers, criminals, terrorists, those are the guys who need $400 million in cash. $400 million in cash is worth 10 times as much as that in electronic currency because the Iranians can use that to whichever foreign terrorist organization they need. It's difficult for them to transfer $1 billion to Hezbollah electronically. It's easy for them to transfer that amount of cash if we give it to them.
But the administration continues to say, look, this was part of a decades-long agreement that the U.S. is making good on, a deal that it didn't complete, and that the timing was merely coincidental. And for the most part, most of the media, and I say most, seem to accept it on face value.
Look, the only decades-long strategy here is the decades-long strategy the Islamic Republic of Iran leadership has to proliferate international terrorism. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Khatib Hezbollah in Iraq, Shia militias in Iraq. Across the world, you see places where the Iranians are intervening as a state sponsor of terror. Doesn't matter whether you got a Republican president, Democratic president, or House, Senate. Every iteration of American government for the past 3.5 decades has recognized that Iran is a state sponsor of terror. That's where this $400 million in cash is going.
Does it worry you that this could now, prompt more kidnappings, not only in Iran but elsewhere, given what we've seen, how this deal went down?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an open invitation to Iran or their surrogates to kidnap Americans, because if the Iranians got a $400 million payoff that isn't, quote-unquote, a ransom, somebody else is going to get the same deal. So we have opened the door to further misbehavior by both Iran and its surrogates. It's important to keep in mind that Iran, as a state sponsor of terror, doesn't just directly sponsor terror and doesn't just directly finance, organize, train, and equip foreign terrorist organizations. They sponsor different foreign terrorist organizations around the world, including narco-terrorist networks in South America. The threat here is significant. It's worldwide. The Iranians are doing an excellent job of executing their strategy. We look like we're defenseless and clueless, quite frankly, in response to them.
You're absolutely right. We're letting them do it. Chris Harmer, thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.